psalmist is talking about there is the truth about God that we all have to come to grips with, and that is that God is what's known as sovereign, meaning he's in control. That's what it means when he says he's in the heavens and he does all that he pleases. So the God that of the Bible is a God who is in complete control over his creation. He sits above it. But he goes on to say down in verse 16, he says the heavens are the Lord's heavens. Again, he's saying the same thing, right? That God owns the heavens, he owns everything, he's in control of everything. He says, but the earth he has given to the children of men. And what that's saying, what the psalmist is saying, is that while God sits in the heavens, he has given us, the children of men, humanity, the right to have dominion over the earth, the right to work in the earth. So we have this accountability and responsibility to do work, right? To do things in the earth. That's what he's saying. So you've got these two things happening, and they seem to be competing, right? You've got God who's in the heavens, he controls everything, he does everything he pleases, verse 3. And then you've got, but he's given the earth to the children of man. So now we have a responsibility as humans to work, do the best we can. We have accountability and those types of things. And so as you think about that in baseball, Caden will laugh because he hears me say this all the time. In baseball, you have a responsibility. You're supposed to work hard, fundamentals, do your job, execute your pitch, execute at the plate, right? Do your job in the field. All of those things, coaches are supposed to do their job at making right decisions and all of that, right? And so you put effort in, you put work in. That's the application of that he has given the earth to the children of men. But at the end of the day, the one thing you're not in charge of, and I think you guys would all agree with this in baseball, you can't control the results on a baseball field, can you? Can anybody control the outcome of a game in baseball? There's too many variables. You can put all the work in as a pitcher. I was watching the Reds game today. Brent Suter threw 2 perfect pitches to Juan Soto. Perfect. I mean, inside the strike zone, umpire called it a ball. Both times. Walks Juan Soto, they score. That guy scores, they lose the game. Suter executed his pitches. He had no control over that umpire's saying it was a ball. Right? At the end of the day, as Christians, what we believe is that God is in control of the results. What I tell Caden and I tell Lincoln and I would tell you guys in baseball, you put your effort in, you execute your pitches, and you trust God with the results. Because at the end of the day, you can't make things happen the way you want them to. God is responsible for that. So what's the solution? You trust God. That's what verse 9 says. Right? If I were to read verse 9 to you, verse 9 says this. He's talking to Israel. He says, O house of Israel, and he talks to Aaron, and he says it 3 times. Trust in the Lord. He is your help and shield. Trust in the Lord. He is your help and shield. Trust in the Lord. He is your help and shield. So what do you take away, right? You've got God who's in control. We're supposed to do our part. How do these two things marry together? It marries together in trusting in God. You got to trust God on the baseball field at the end of the day. You walk away with your head held high if you worked hard, regardless of if you win or lose. As you move into this next phase of life, you're going to find that the same principles apply. You work hard, you do your best, and you got to trust God with the results. You got to trust God with that he's going to work things the way that he pleases. Right? And there's a couple of ways that you trust God. One, in the Bible we see that the first thing is we have to have a relationship with God. And I know that you guys did a devotion on your trip to Alabama, and part of that was talking about the gospel-centered life. The first step of having a relationship with God, the first step of trusting God, is to place your faith in Jesus Christ. That is the number one first step that you have to take. You place your faith in Jesus Christ for your eternity. You're placing your trust of your eternity in him. Then you can trust him for your day-to-day. Right? And that's the second part. So as you guys move out of the baseball phase of life for some of you, maybe some of you aren't, right? Some of you might be playing in high school, but then maybe some of you play into college at some point. Everybody's going to move out of the baseball phase of playing in your life and move into, college, family, career, that kind of stuff. Remember the principles of Psalm 115. You put your effort in as God has given you that responsibility and accountability. Recognize that God is sovereign. He does what he pleases, and then trust him for the results. All right? That's my encouragement.
Thank you very much, Steve.